It's time to take your questions or comments. I've got the printouts in front of me. I've got the computers in front of me. We're going to take as many comments as we can that came in on yesterday's show. We asked you to just put Friday. A lot of you did. Our social media team went through. They picked out what they thought were great topics of discussion. Will, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, let's go ahead with this one. This is from Robert, and it says, could the ACLJ represent President Trump in his court cases?
Interesting question. Obviously, we are involved in certain ones that do impact President Trump. So we had the Colorado victory where they're trying to keep him off the ballot. We fought that was a violation, that was wrong, and we won. So there are ways that we are representing him, but he's got a lot of lawyers, a big team that's on all these different cases, and they're all different specialties. But where the ACLJ can get involved in these cases, we do.
Right, exactly. And as we always say a lot of times, and if you were to go to aclj.org/help, if you needed legal help, it does have things that are within the scope of the organization and the law firm. Yeah. Because different law firms, they participate or they specialize in different forms of law. So we wouldn't necessarily get involved in every sort of legal case out there.
Why don't you give a little breakdown of the Colorado situation?
So
People
don't,
right. If they don't remember.
So we actually represented the Colorado Republican Party, and we actually represented Republican parties in many different states that where there was a challenge to ballot access because they were trying to claim that President Trump violated the insurrection clause within the 14th Amendment. We were able to engage on behalf of the Republican parties because they represented Republican voters and people that were afraid their voice would be silenced. And because that's a constitutional issue, that's within the framework and in the scope of what our organization does. And that is one that, as we saw, we won at a lower court level and it went all the way up. And then we lost at the Colorado Supreme Court. They ruled in favor of taking him off the ballot. That then got expedited to the U.S. Supreme Court, where we briefed it there, and the justices unanimously decided that, no, Colorado Secretary of State can't just kick him off the ballot. That's not how this works. Yeah. And we prevailed, and many of our actual arguments were the rationale for why he was able to remain on the ballot.
So maybe in short, the answer is yes. In some of these battles, we can get involved. We're going to keep going with these comments, so thank you, though. Some of these names are fun because, by the way, these come from YouTube. They come from Rumble. Some people are using screen names, if you will, if you're an old school person like me, because I don't know what you'd call them. Handles.
I think handles is the
screen names, like I'm talking about Instant Messenger. P-Dub asked a question. The first debate.
P-Dub Designs.
P-Dub Designs. Well, you gave him a plug. There you go.
Sorry.
The first debate is pre-convention. This is about the presidential debate, obviously, that was decided. Why should RFK Jr. be accepted? Could his inclusion be used as an excuse for Biden to back out of the debate? This takes you back to a conversation we had yesterday. As you know, a couple nights ago, Will and I went to an RFK Jr. event as press. Again, to clarify, we were not donors. We were not supporters. We went as invited press, which obviously we thanked them for doing that. And we were honest with how that event went and so on. One of those big questions that came up, though, was did he actually qualify for this debate? And this is another question. Why should he be accepted? Well, I think he's making the argument he should be accepted because he is meeting the requirements of which CNN, not necessarily President Biden, but what CNN is requesting.
Or at least he believes that by the time the debate gets around, which is not until June 27th, that he would meet those requirements, the polling requirements, the ballot access requirements. But I think that it is an interesting question because, one, it could give Biden an excuse to back out if he says, well, CNN, that's not what we really agreed to. I think it'd be a bad political move because then he would look like he's afraid of debating RFK.
Which I think he is.
Right.
I think he is. There's a reason he put those rules in there. It's because he's afraid that is going to siphon more Biden voters to RFK Jr. Whether you like him or not, he is polling from both sides. If you probably go to more red states, he's probably polling from Trump. If you go to more blue states, he's probably polling from Biden, or he may be just polling almost 50-50. So it may not be a spoiler. We've seen some of those polls come out to say he makes a big impact, but that big impact actually doesn't impact the final number. So we should see. Let's keep going, Will. You got the next one?
Yeah, that's right. This is from Judy, and she says, I continually have issues posting content on Facebook and even commenting on your videos. I'm certain it's because of my conservative views. Is there anything the ACLJ can do to fight back against big tech censorship?
Absolutely. I'm going to encourage you right now, Judy, or anyone who feels this way, go to aclj.org/help. Obviously, we have to do a pretty deep dive to make those proof. But we have a huge audience on Facebook, and Facebook respects the fact that we have a huge audience on Facebook. They want to make sure our audience is served, or at least they will put on the airs to make us feel that way. But we do have lawyers who specify in social media and social media censorship. So if you have a compelling reason to believe this, and I'm talking to all of you out there, I'm going to encourage you right now. And again, the ACLJ does all of our legal work for absolutely no cost, for free. We do that because there are supporters like ACLJ donors and ACLJ champions, monthly supporters. We can't do that without you, obviously, but we're never going to charge our clients. So don't worry about you're going to get contacted by a lawyer and then hit up with a bill. That doesn't happen here. If you feel like you have a real case, Judy or whoever it is, watching right now, that you feel like you are being censored because of your political views, and you don't feel either way that those are because you have said something that is, violent or anything that could be considered real reasons to have you limited on social media. If you feel like it is just because you are a conservative or a Christian or whatever it is, I want to hear from you. Go to aclj.org/help, fill out that simple form, and put on there, Logan sent me. That will help me know that's coming from you. So let's keep going. Another one came in. Let's go here. Which one are we at?
Gwendolyn, yeah.
Gwendolyn, it's another RFK question. Gwendolyn said, President Trump said RFK is more left-leaning than Biden, and I believe he is right. Again, what is your opinion? Here is what I'm going to say. They spent very little time on policy when we were at this event. Now, I've studied his policy pretty aggressively because he's someone who I think is very interesting. He has flip-flopped on a lot of things. His life situation, what he feels about on abortion, has really rapidly changed. He is someone who put out a statement called More Choices, More Life. And his concept was that if you were to not pass laws to limit abortions, but you were able to offer mothers, single mothers that are under the income line, certain income line, free childcare or things like that, supplies, kind of do what a lot of pregnancy resource centers do, to be honest.
Right.
And provide that funding. His idea was to take the funding from Ukraine and to put it towards that. Obviously, that's going to appeal to a conservative base, but you are saying don't limit anything by law. Then he was confronted with this, and they said, hey, are you saying no limits like full term? And he said, yes, full term. Obviously, anyone who was on the conservative side sort of panicked. He then responded with, you know what? I didn't know that there were full-term abortions happening voluntarily. I thought this was all life of the mother. I thought this was all those situations. That's what I was referring to. I would not be for that. After a certain weeks and certain viability, that's what I'm going to go for. The thing is it's refreshing to have someone who listens. However, that also means it's someone who is really not educated on those topics.
And I do think that as far as the left-right paradigm goes, yes, he was a Democrat. He is liberal in his policy. Yeah. So yes, that is left-wing. However, what he's trying to remove himself from is that paradigm of left-right politics and say, I'm an independent voice, I'll listen, I'll do different things. But is President Trump wrong that has a lot of far left policies, big government policies? Yeah. No, he's not wrong about that. Not at all.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see even the people that turned out to support him. A lot of them are people I said would have voted in a traditional Trump probably way, more of a Republican, more libertarian Republican. But I think because of his stances on anything, including COVID and the lockdowns, that brought a lot of people to his base that maybe wouldn't support any other topic. And that was really the only topic addressed the entire night we went to at the event, were the lockdowns and the fallout from everything with COVID.